Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Frenemies, joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox. David, we got a good buddy on, former teammate of ours, Jason Hart. Jason, thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to have you, buddy.
Likewise. Good to see you guys.
So, Jason, man, we got a lot to get into. Jason is a Reds fan. He lives down in Atlanta now, so he's kind of leaning Braves, kind of leaning Reds. You can maybe talk about that a little bit later, but his heart and soul is with the Reds, and we're gonna talk a lot of Reds tonight because they deserve it. They've been playing some amazing baseball. But before we get to them, David, I gotta start the show with the Yankees and 13-game winning streak, David. That is the longest winning streak that you have ever seen in all your years on this earth. So go ahead and boast about your team and how great they've been. Go for it.
DJ, everything that I said months leading up to this, I take it all back. Boone is the man. Cashman is the man. The Yankees got it rolling now. A little bit worrisome. Last couple games there versus Oakland. Had a kind of a tough time. Lost 3-1 last night and 3-2, I believe it was, the night before that. So we'll see what happens. The bullpen is still pretty weak. Even during this winning streak, it's kind of been a disaster, to be honest with you. Chapman's all over the place. Chad Green serves up homers left and right. So I don't know. We'll see, man. But the Yankees, I believe, are only 5 games out of first place, which is insane. July the 5th, Hart, 10.5 games back, if you can believe that. They've come all the way back. The Red Sox have fallen, which is awesome. I just need Oakland to seal the deal, keep the Red Sox out, and all my dreams will have come true. Jason, let's talk about the trade deadline. DJ, just sit there for just a second. So this trade deadline was the best one ever. All of DJ's worst nightmares came true. It was the greatest day of my life. Anthony Rizzo goes to the Yankees. They got a lot better. Anyway, I just had to throw that in there because it just makes me feel good inside.
We got Atlanta got Jock Peterson.
Yes. Hey, DJ, and this is off the subject. We're off the Yankees here for just a second. We're going to stay in New York. What about your boy Javi Baez? That's looking pretty bad all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, so I was going to talk about this when we got to the NL East part of the show, but you brought it up. So, yeah, I don't think Javi Baez's days as a Met are going to be very long. When you're doing this to the fans like him and Liriano, and Liriano is a 10-year deal with the Mets, so he's obviously off on the wrong foot. New York fans are not like any other, man. They don't put up with that stuff, so I don't really know what's going to happen to those two. Those are the ones paying your salary, and when you are giving them a thumbs down, ouch.
Yeah, absolutely. So, DJ, we got to transition. Let's talk a little bit of White Sox, man. Tell us about the White Sox this past week.
Well, on Saturday, it was a great game, man. Cubs 7-0 shutout. Alec Mills dominated 8 1/3 innings pitched, shut their bats down. They had no chance. The real Alec Mills will stand up. He threw a no-hitter last year. He almost no-hit the White Sox in this game. 8 1/3, awesome baseball. The problem for him has been consistency. He's not there right now. He's struggling very much to keep it consistent. But, David, this team's great. You know, the Cubs are awesome. They're going to rebound. They're going to be great next year. They're going to just pick up a few more players in the offseason, and then they'll be just World Series contenders right away again. So,
hey, DJ.
Patrick, David.
I think Baez will be able to be having a discount now, so the Cubs will get their wish.
We can just get him right back, right? So Patrick Wisdom hits 2 bombs in the second game, hit 2 bombs in the first game as well. Rafael Ortega hit a grand slam in the second game. Getting one from the White Sox was awesome. They avoided the broom, which I love to see. So one of the things to keep an eye on, Cubs fans down the stretch here. I'm looking for things, man. This is all I can do right now with this. Patrick Wisdom, 25 home runs, is leader among rookies in the National League. He also has the second most home runs by a Cub in franchise history for a rookie. Chris Bryant hit 26 as a rookie, so Patrick Wisdom has a real good shot of passing that. If he hits 2 more home runs, he will pass him. The only guys that are possibly giving Wisdom a run for the money for Rookie of the Year are Trevor Rogers with the Marlins. The Marlins is 7-6 with a 2.45 ERA, 129 Ks and 110 innings pitched, and he was an all-star this year. And then Jonathan India of the Reds, Jason, he's got 114 hits, 17 bombs, 59 ribbies, batting 272 with 79 runs. Wisdom has 65 hits, 25 bombs, 50 ribbies, and is batting 256. So he's not quite there yet, but it's possible that if he hits about 35, 40 home runs, it'd be hard for India to match that success, and we may have another Rookie of the Year here in Chicago.
No, it's India's to lose.
Jason, what are your thoughts?
I like watching India. I'm allergic to people that went to the University of Florida, but he's grown on me. So
that's amazing, man. So Jason, let's transition to your team now. That was the fastest Cubs update I've ever given, by the way, David. That probably lasted 2 minutes, but I'm pretty done with that. I'm just happy that we beat the White Sox once. I'm not even going to talk about the first or third game because that was the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in my life. But Jason, man, the Reds, I mean, here we go. They are playing some baseball. And unfortunately, they lost to the Cardinals tonight, which is not a team you want to lose to because you don't want to let the Cardinals back in, which is what they're kind of doing by losing to them. But, Jason, talk about this season, man. Have you enjoyed it? What's going on with the Reds?
Yeah, so as I was telling you before the show, I kind of switched back to being a Reds fan. For those who don't know, I'm family in Atlanta, family in Cincinnati, so I get the luxury of kind of being like a Yankees fan, just kind of bandwagon. The Braves just kind of over them right now. So back into the Reds, caught the last couple of games, and one of the things I like about the team is how, I don't know, and maybe it's my bias towards small market baseball, but they just seem to play with a little bit more of an edge. They've been, from the few games I've seen this year, a lot more fun than I've, the past 4 or so rebuilding years. So, and I like their chances. I'm a little worried about Antone being out. And then there's the fact, again, they're a small market team and I'm a fan, so their chances of actually going anywhere are pretty limited, but they've been fun to watch. So let me ask you guys this. What do you think about Joey Votto's chances of picking up the NL MVP?
Well,
David?
Yes, I'm going to talk about this because Joey Votto saved my fantasy team, Hart. I mean, all in about 2 weeks. He brought me back from the dead. But there's a problem that has arisen here in the last week. He's 3 for his last 26. I just looked it up today. Yeah.
No.
I really need Joey Votto to pick it back up. So before that happened, I think his chances are pretty good, man, because the other guy that's slumping is Tatis, who's also on my fantasy team, by the way. But Tatis, I think, is hitting about 170 for the last month or something like that. You don't realize it because he still had a few big hits in there. But I actually really like Votto's chances. DJ, I know you want to comment about this. This is his favorite player. He's got all his baseball cards and stuff.
Jason, you would bring this up right away, wouldn't you? It's exactly what I knew you were going to do this. But no, Fernando Tatis, it's his MVP to lose. He's the man. Bottles had a good year, and you gotta thank the Cubs for a lot of that. I think he probably hit about 15 home runs against the Cubs this year, which was unbelievable. That series where he dominated the Cubs, I turned the TV off and threw a lot of things, and it was pretty bad. And I don't know, man. I don't think he's got a shot at it. I really don't. I think Patrick Wisdom could probably win the MVP too.
Oh, God.
I think Votto will win the MVP. It's like a lock. Once he gets traded to the Yankees, he will become a shoe-in Hall of Famer. That's how it works with the Reds. It's like a development ground.
Well, seriously though, if the Reds make the playoffs and the Padres don't, that's got to play a factor, right? And vice versa, obviously.
Yeah, and I guess the
you know what? They always say that voting happens after the regular season's over. You don't know how much of that you actually believe. I'm not sure. The ballots are supposed to be in at the end of the regular season. But you're right, David. Like, I guess if a team does make the playoffs, it probably gives them more of a little bit of a push towards winning these type of awards, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, I think the Reds are I heard them talking about it on the MLB today. They were breaking down the different teams that would be in the playoffs right now. Man, I think the Reds are sneaky. They're kind of missing the same thing the Yankees are missing, which is lockdown in the bullpen. I like their rotation. They obviously can really hit. Jonathan India, I mean, where did that dude come from? He's just been awesome. When I looked at their lineup at the beginning of the year with Farmer at shortstop and all that, remember that was kind of a mess. They let Suarez start out there, and that didn't go very well. And I just thought, man, they just didn't have enough. But, man, Castellanos is the man. Winker's been the man. I mean, I think the Reds are dangerous.
Yeah, I do too, Jason. And I'll tell you this right now, nobody roots for the Cardinals to win anything. So we are all definitely on your side, buddy. We want the Reds to do really well, especially in this series. Keep Yachty and the boys back. Don't let them crawl back into this thing, man. They're starting to scare me a little bit. But Sonny Gray pitched amazing the other day. And when you see Sonny Gray pitching like you know he can, and if he can continue to do that towards the end here, the Reds are going to be dangerous. And the one thing that I'm kind of a little worried about, and obviously why wouldn't you be worried about it, Jason, is who's on the number one wild card spot right now? The Dodgers. Nobody wants to see them in a one-game series. You don't want to do that. But you know what, though? Here's the thing about that. And I want both your opinion on this. Jason, especially yours, because you're a Reds fan, obviously. Would you rather have a 5-game series versus the Dodgers or a one game series where anything can happen, man? Your pitcher's on and you score a couple runs. You can sneak a game better than you can a series against a powerhouse like the Dodgers. What do you think?
100% agree. I'm still from the NLCS of the Braves last year, a series they clearly should have won, had no business losing. They just ran out of gas against all that talent. And so, yeah, no, 100% would much rather take my chances with Russian Roulette and the Dodgers than an actual full-blown series.
Yeah. Hey, DJ, the guys on MLB were talking today about Milwaukee in a 5-game series. And, man, they would be hard to beat, dude. They got some great pitching. They were talking about how well they would match up against the Dodgers. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a tough – those three guys at the top of that rotation are nasty, man. And so that's a good – man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I really believe this, that, the Dodgers are currently in the wild card for one reason, cannot catch the Giants. So if it ends up being the Dodgers and the Reds, man, I think it's tough to beat a team like that because they've got so many pitchers that are just absolute studs. But if I were the Reds, I would much rather go at them one game than a 5-game series and just take my chances there and hope to just sneak by them. And then you got a little bit of a shot getting into those other teams with the Dodgers probably being the favorite in the NL. But I don't know, man. It's going to be fun to watch, Jason, and I'll definitely be rooting for your boys for sure, no doubt.
Yep.
All right, so I want to transition here a little bit. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but Chris Bassett of the Oakland A's the other day took a line drive. It was actually in the White Sox game, and I was watching it live at the in-laws' house, and took a shot right off of his cheek. When the ball hit him in the face, I thought eye, and that's not good. I thought he got hit right in the eyeball. You always worry about saving an eye when you get hit there. It looked nasty, man, and it shut the game down for about 10, 15 minutes there, and just kind of led me to something, and he's doing pretty good. He's going to be back in there, and he'll help Oakland out. That's a big shot to Oakland, though. They're chasing a wild card spot, one of their top pitchers out right now. So looking at it from that perspective, not good for the A's. But the other perspective is I want a couple stories out of you guys. So, David, what is the scariest thing that ever happened to you on a baseball field? And hopefully you've avoided something like that. But you were a pitcher, and so you're close to these guys like Bassett is. So you got any good stories about things that happened to you?
Well, the scariest thing that ever happened to me, and it's a little bit funny looking back on it now, I took a Dave Rogers fastball right to the nose. Do you remember that, Jason? Oh, yeah.
At Temple?
Yes, sir. Yep. Dave Rogers played minor league ball for Pittsburgh, and he was pitching BP against us. And I stepped into the box, and I looked up, and the ball was about right here, and it literally hit me right in the nose. I don't know how it didn't break my nose or whatever, but on the pitcher's mound, I don't know if you guys remember this or not, we were playing Chat State. I believe it was my sophomore year. It would have been Jason. It would have been your freshman year, I think. But I took a line drive right in my thigh, and man, it blacked literally from my butt all the way down to my knee. It was black, and it was funny because when it happened, like I picked up the ball and threw the guy out and jogged off the field. Brian Howard was like, "Dude, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm good. No problem." I think I pitched another inning after that. The next day, I could barely walk. But I can't even imagine taking that to the face, though, man. I mean, that's a scary thing. A lot of guys, it messes them up, physically and emotionally for life. And so, man, thoughts and prayers definitely go out to Chris Bassett. Like I said, that's a scary thing.
Jason, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I think the worst thing that ever happened to me, I actually wasn't on the field. I was a spectator. I think I was at my younger brother. He played a little bit for Liberty. How old was I? He was probably 14. I was in college, and he was at one of his 14U travel games, and someone had smoked this hooking foul ball over the left field kind of shallow fence past the net, and it curved, and I turned around, and it just dropped me in the chest.
Oh.
And it was just off, I mean, just a 14-year-old kid, but I thought it killed me. And I can't imagine, to your point, I'm getting hit by a 14-year-old kid 160 feet away. I can't imagine, a pitcher taking something with that kind of, I hate the word now, it's become a punchline, but that kind of exit velocity to the face. It's really horrifying. And then on top of that, I think I mentioned this to you, DJ. I've got my 9-year-old playing at a pretty high level of youth baseball. They made it to the Dizzy Dean State Championship game. And there's been no incidents like that, but you see these kids now, and they're, or at least for me anyway, they're coached at a level that I didn't see. I don't even think I saw it at college. Like these kids and the training they go through and the type of, the swings that they're taking. And so I keep seeing these hits go like right by this 9-year-old's head that's hit really hard, and they're only 45 feet away. And so, yeah, that Chris Bassett thing is it's frightening.
Yep.
Yeah, it really is. No doubt about it. And actually, my story has nothing to do with me playing either. It was me coaching. Back when I was at my alma mater, Plano High School in 2011. It was actually Nicole's birthday that day, and we were all going to go out after the game for celebration and everything. We had a double header, kind of a cool night. Our first game was at home, and then we were going to get on a bus and go about 15 miles up the road and play a different team under the lights for a second game. So it was a really cool night. But one of our players, Alex Ramirez, got up there, and Alex is one of those guys that when he pulls the ball, like it's coming at you fast. And you got guys like that who just open up on it and just crush the ball. Well, when those guys come up and you're in the third base box, you tend to go back because, you don't want to get hit, obviously. But especially with nobody on, there were no runners on base. I go way back. I get out of the way because I know, hey, he's one of the pull guys. Got to get out of the way here. No reason to be in front of the box with nobody on. Well, I was thinking about different things going on, the next batter, what I'm going to do strategic-wise, and was in the front of the box and wasn't paying attention really to what Alex was doing, trying to figure out what I was going to do next with my next moves. Sure enough, he opens up on one. And this is back when these bats have come down a long ways from that time. There was a time there about the late 2000s into the early 2010s where these bats were getting absolutely crazy. We were hitting pop-ups that you were thinking you're going to get caught by the second baseman that are blowing over the fence, man. It just got out of hand. And so, sure enough, man, he hits me right in my calf. And, man, did that hurt. And I bet that exit velo, like you just saying, Jason, was way up there. Because high school kid, he's one of the best players to come through that school. He mashed me, man, and it hurt really bad. But I was just like, whatever, just hitting the calf, I'll be fine. And finished the game, still did everything I needed to do, got on the bus, went to the second game. About the third inning of the second game, I couldn't get back to the dugout from third base. And I'm like, man, what is going on here? They're like locked up on me. So I had to get my arms around a couple of my players to help me get back to the dugout. And I couldn't coach from third the rest of the game, kind of stayed in the dugout. Needless to say, went home, iced, elevated, just did whatever, normally we would do. I went back into work the next day, sitting at my desk, and our athletic trainer comes in. She takes both of her fingers, touches both sides of my calf, and goes, "You need to go to the emergency room right now." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" She goes, "Yeah, you need to go to the emergency room right now." And I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "You have compartment syndrome." And I'm like, "What is that?" I have no idea what that is. What are you talking about? She has, you have no pulse in your foot. Your leg could you could literally lose your leg right now if you don't get to the hospital. So sure enough, I'm rushed to the hospital. I'm mad at her because I had a game that day. I thought she was lying to me. I get in there and they're like, "You need to go to surgery now." So I'm like, "Oh, great." So they opened my leg up. They let it sit there basically all night long, opened up, which is disgusting to think. But all that pressure that ball did to my calf literally stopped the pulse from even going in my foot. Thank God she sent me in there because I could have lost my leg. But, man, did that hurt. I'm telling you, man. And there's nothing like, these baseballs hurt, man, and you get hit in the face by a ball like Bassett did. I'll take getting in the calf anytime over get hit in the face, man. And thank God, like batting in all my years, I never really got hit by pitches a lot. I think in my college career I had maybe 6 in the entire time, and I don't know why that is or whatever. But I'm kind of happy, Yeah. I was a small target, so that's a part of the reason too. Yeah, but that's scary, man. And those are some good stories. I just kind of thought, well, we could go in a different route there and tell a little story about what happened to us, man. But yeah, definitely thoughts and prayers with Chris Bassett on his situation there. And the A's need him back, man, because they're in the middle of a run here. So real quick, guys, I got to bring up a guy. Johnny Groth was Detroit Tiger. He was actually born in Chicago in 1926. He died this week. He's 95 years old. And this guy's pretty significant. Played 15 MLB seasons, 11 for the Tigers, had 60 career homers and 486 ribbies. His best season was in 1950. He had 12 bombs with 85 ribbies and hit 306. Johnny went to a high school called Latin High School here in Chicago, which we just played them this past year. We play them about once every 5 years or so. Pretty prestigious high school, mainly in basketball, but a pretty good baseball program as well. He's survived by his wife of 72 years, guys. They were married for 72 years, and he has 11 children. Johnny's a legend in Chicago. Believe this or not, guys, obviously there's a ton of athletes that have come through here and NBA, NHL, and all the sports, but he's consistently on the list as one of the greatest athletes to come through here. And that's no joke, man. He could play some football. He could play some baseball, and he was a stud in high school when he came through here. So pretty tough loss for the city of Chicago and Detroit there. Johnny Groth, rest in peace. David, did you do any research on him?
No, I wasn't able to. Man, 72. That's an accomplishment. So yeah, rest in peace to him.
Yep. So there we go. No doubt, Johnny. Jason, do you have anything to add on that one?
No, I just learned it from your mouth the first time. That's pretty impressive. Sorry to leave you hanging.
No, you're good, buddy. Yeah, 72 years. That's unbelievable to be married to somebody for that long. And what a career for Johnny. The Tigers have lost a lot of legends of their time the last few years here too. I actually talked to my buddy who is a great Tigers fan, and he knew a lot about Johnny as well. And obviously didn't get to see him play because he played way back in the day, but definitely a really good player. So standings update, David. We will start in the NL East, and a big thing happened this week, boys. Rhys Hoskins is out for the season for the Phillies, man. And this is a tough blow to the Phillies who are trying to get back into it. 27 bombs, 71 ribbies. He had 64 runs scored and a 334 on base percentage. So tough loss for the Phillies there, guys.
Yeah, I think that whole division's cooked. I think Braves, they're finally kind of rounding into shape. Those trades that they made at the trade deadline seemed like they put them over the edge a little bit. The Phillies are weird because they really have a guy that could be the Cy Young Award winner and a guy that could be the MVP on the same team. And yet they're still, 5 or 6 games out and kind of spiraling down. And of course, the Mets, I don't know what happened to them, man. But anyway, I think the Braves are going to run away with this one.
The leper with the most fingers. The NL East is the dumpster fire of Major League Baseball. I don't see anyone making it deep in the playoffs. I'm not rooting against my home team here, but I don't think the Braves have the juice to get very far.
Yeah, they really don't. I don't know like what the deal is in that division. We talked about this before the season started, David, and this is like the division that we were the most unsure about. It could have gone a whole different ways as far as 1 through 5, and it's been like that the whole year where they're bouncing up and down. The Mets, man, what a joke. I've never been a fan of them or their organization. We talked about them earlier, how the fans are starting to boo all their players. They deserve it, man. They're like 5 games below 500 now. They're terrible. And what a mess, man. A team that was picked by a ton of experts to be in the World Series. Not just win this division, be in the World Series. And they are not even close. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're a joke. They're a laughing stock of MLB. All the MLB network, those people like make fun of them so much too. So I don't know, man. They're crazy. 7.5 games out of first. The Nationals are way out of it. And the Marlins, guys, one of the things about the Marlins, getting to see Trevor Rogers pitch a little bit, David. Those guys with Rogers, Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara, and Sixto Sanchez, man, they got a good rotation for the future. A lot of young arms there that are going to be good, man. So the Marlins, bad year this year, but if that pitching comes together, they're going to be nasty.
Yeah, absolutely. My fantasy team, and dude's good for a quality start every week. And I think he's up to about 160 or 170 Ks. I was checking him out today. Sneaky rotation, man. Sixto, he was a stud last year. And, of course, injuries just robbed him of this year. But, man, the Marlins, I feel like, are just a few pieces away. I mean, I think they're really close.
No doubt about it. So, Jason, jump into the Central now. We were talking about the Reds a little bit here earlier. 71-61. The Cardinals now 2.5 back of the Reds. So I guess that John Lester pickup, David, was paying off for the Cardinals there. I don't know what that was still, but the Cardinals are making a little noise, man. And guys, the Cubs are only 14 back in the wild card. So as long as they got 14 games to play, they're not out of it yet. So don't you dare write them off. The magic number to eliminate has not yet happened. So we're still in it, guys. We're going for it. We got this thing. No joke. So, Jason, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the NL Central?
One of the other few games I went to this year was watching the Braves play the Brewers, and they surprised me actually a little bit. I mean, I knew they were in first place, but it caught me off guard because as much as I like to rag my Braves because they suck, they're not a terrible team, and the Brewers manhandled them. I mean, they're just very balanced. Like the relief pitchers are studs. Their offense was clicking. Just think they're going to be a tough team in the Central. And then, of course, like you said, Reds can sneak in. And I think we all hate the Cardinals. So that sums it up. One other thing about the Cardinals is if it wasn't enough that I hate them as a Reds fan for obvious reasons, the one of the other games, one of the few playoff games I've ever gone to was when they played that final playoff game in Atlanta and beat us 14-1 in the first inning. I took my whole family, shelled out for playoff tickets. So now they hold an extra place of hatred. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. David, what are your thoughts on the Central?
No, I can't believe the Cardinals are going to sneak in there. I know that they're knocking on the door or whatever, but you can't win playoff games. You're not a playoff team if Jay Happ and John Lester are 2/5 of your rotation. And so I just can't buy it at all. The Brewers are obviously going to win the division, and I think the Reds are going to be there in the playoffs as that second wild card team.
The other piece of that, Dave, is that I think the Reds' schedule, the remaining, month and a half, it sets up, it's a lot nicer or a lot easier of a schedule than the Cardinals have. They get to play a lot of NL East cupcake games, so they'll be in good shape.
Yeah, and the Padres, man, they got a really bad schedule. I think they got the Dodgers like 10 more times or something crazy. Maybe even more than that. I can't remember. So man, this is setting up nice for the Reds. And as far as the Cubs go, I think they're only about 5 games away from the Pirates, Jason. So I think we might see the Cubs ride that all the way down.
Like DJ's naive optimism with the Cubs, it's so sincere that it melts away my cynicism. Just kidding. They have no chance.
Stop it.
You've got to go watch the trade deadline episode and the weeks leading up to that, because DJ was just like, oh, no. We're adding. We are adding during the trade deadline. We're trading no one away. There's no way that, and like you said, he believed it.
I thought the narrative around that, even at the time, was like people didn't. I thought it was 50-50. You're saying DJ just refused to believe it. I thought
Absolutely.
the whole metric was if they weren't at a certain point by the season, they were hitting the nuclear button.
No, DJ existed. It was like they are adding. Chris, he had this all on his mind. Chris Bryant's too important to the legacy of the team, and blah 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 blah. And so he wouldn't even answer my text the day of the trade deadline. Nicole had to answer them for him. It was really bad.
That was by far the worst day of my Cubs life, man. So all those guys just got traded, and he was no break, man. It was like Rizzo went the day before, and then the next day was just utter chaos, man. And we're on the track. So speaking of that, the NL West, guys, and a future Cub is lighting it up for the Colorado Rockies, and Trevor Story, who will be the Cubs' #1 target this offseason, signed him to an 8-year, $200 million deal to be the shortstop of the future. That's going to happen. You heard it here first, David, on this podcast, that Trevor Story will be a Cub. So the NL West, guys, the Giants are 84 wins, man. 2.5 games up on the Dodgers. We've given them a lot of love recently. They deserve it. 2 best teams in baseball by the statistics are the Giants and the Dodgers, and they are 1 and 2 in that division, which is crazy to think. Man, that game, I don't know if you guys saw the Padres and the Dodgers about midweek, where they went 16 innings with the runner starting on second base. That's crazy to go 16 innings when you have a guy starting on second base to start the inning. What a game that was, back and forth. There was a time where the Dodgers were up by 2, and then Tatis tied it with a 2-run homer, and then just back and forth for 16 crazy innings. And then A.J. Pollock, who's been awesome this year for the Dodgers, clutch, hit a bomb to win it. And speaking of clutch, man, Will Smith, that guy, every time he's up in a situation where the game's on the line, he's been coming through, man. I saw a crazy stat the other day that says he's like got 10 game-winning hits this year, something like that. Unbelievable. Will Smith is on fire, man, and the Dodgers are for real, and they could catch the Reds there in that one game playoff and be a lot of fun. So, David, what's your thoughts on the West?
It's still shocking. Giants doing a bit shocking here, replay button or whatever, but most people can't even name their starters. It's just awesome, honestly. So the Dodgers, they're going to be the Dodgers. They're going to be tough to beat in the playoffs. We've talked about that. And like we've talked about, San Diego, I think they're kind of cooked, man. I really do. It's interesting to see this position switch, how it's affected Tatis, because ever since the switch has happened, man, I'm telling you, as a fantasy owner over here, it's hurt him. So, I thought, well, he can go out and play right field. He's a great athlete. There won't be any problem. But, I wonder what the impact of that is mentally. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out the farther the year goes. It'd be interesting to see if the Giants can make a deep run. Like I said, I don't know why, but I'm just kind of pulling for them.
Jason, the West, what do you think, buddy?
I follow the West so little. I'd struggle to name all the teams in it right now. I got nothing for the West. I'm shaking my head at David's comment about rooting for the Giants. I will say that when it just caught me off guard the other day. I didn't realize oh my gosh, they're actually in first place. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Do I say that again?
all year. Like, they're going to go from start to finish in first place. And the Giants were a team that were on nobody's radar. Am I right, DJ? I mean, it was Dodgers, Padres. They made all the moves, and, you know, the Giants got the worst manager in the league. Nah, apparently he's not. Me and DJ used to like to talk about that. But anyway, it's amazing. I mean, can you give the Giants? I mean, obviously Buster Posey. Everybody knows Buster Posey. And if you've watched the Giants, you know, Brandon Crawford. You know, he's there at short. Brandon Belt, you know, you think about him, but, like, you know, I have to, like, really think pretty hard, like, who plays second base for the Giants? You know what I mean? So, like, it's just amazing. You can name every Dodgers starter, probably every Padres starter, but nobody knows the starting five for the Giants hardly. You know what I mean? So I just think it's cool.
So you think they sustain it? Do you think they go anywhere in the playoffs, or?
I have to believe it. I mean, like I said, it's not like this flash in the pan. I mean, you have to believe in them a little bit, right? I mean, you go 4 months or however long we are into the season, and you've been first place since almost day one to now. I mean, I kind of have to believe.
How does their, sorry, not to put you on the spot, I clearly have forgotten everything about baseball, but what is their record right now? How does that stack up to the Dodgers?
Oh, they're number one. They're number one in the entire league.
In the entire AL. Oh, wow.
The entire everybody, like 84-46 is their record. 84-46. They're not, like, the Dodgers are the only team that's close to them at 82-49. So they're running the show, man, and picking up Chris Bryant. Obviously, he's been mashing, of course, since he left the Cubs and hitting bombs. It seems like every game he's out there, fitting in really well there, playing whatever position they need him to because he's that athlete. So those guys are for real, man. It's going to be a lot of fun watching this playoffs when you got the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Giants, the Reds, and you can't throw the Padres out yet. But, man, is it going to be fun seeing these teams battle in the playoffs for sure. So over to the AL, guys, and we'll start in David's division there in the AL East with the Tampa Bay Rays at 82-48, are the best team in the American League, which is not very hard to believe with that small market budget and terrible field, as Fenwick said last week, the worst field in the game, worse than the Coliseum, which he's probably right. It is, and I think, David, you've been there and can confirm that that's the worst field in the MLB.
It does have air conditioning. It's pretty terrible. The Avondale Major League Baseball parks.
Oh, the Avondale, Jason. That's a good blast from the past. Avondale Field, buddy.
The practice field?
Practice field? All it needs is a Chevy van going around in circles as you get there. No, man, the Trop, it is.
Chevy van, the shady thing going on in the Coach Hall Chevy van.
Yes, yeah, Coach Hall. Oh wow, dude, the East. So Tampa's for real. But I think the Yankees are for real all of a sudden too. So don't be surprised, man, if this ends up a dogfight for the division. It seems so out of reach not that long ago, but Yankees kind of pulled it together. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but Martin Perez went down today for the Red Sox. And that pitching just keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And I keep believing less and less and less. Now watch them go beat the Yankees in the wild card, but I think Oakland's going to slide by them.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I still got faith in Boston's offense and Chris Sale and the boys getting through there. It's crazy to think a division's going to have three playoff teams, which is probably the only one here that's going to do that. Unless the Padres pick it up, they could do it in the NL as well. But yeah, these teams are loaded. This division's awesome, and Toronto's 68-61 and in fourth place, and that's not a bad record. But they're in fourth place with that record, which is crazy. Yep. And Jason, at least you're not a fan of the Baltimore Orioles at 40-89, buddy. That's pretty hard to do. 40-89.
I'm trying to come up with a percentage. What is that under 500?
Oh gosh, that's a 310 winning percentage.
310. This will be the third straight season of more than 100 losses. I mean, how do you even do that? But
They're
hey, they got the
great.
best ball.
What did you say? They have the best field in pro baseball?
They got the best farm system.
Farm system, yeah.
Because that's what matters.
Well, it's clearly not working for them. They're not building anything.
So true, man. They are struggling.
I know a few Orioles fans, so it kind of warms my heart. So I'll pass this episode on to them.
Yes.
So the AL Central, we'll spend about 5 seconds on this division, cruddy division. Every team in it is awful. The White Sox are somehow in first place by default, basically. Worst team and worst first place team in the majors is the White Sox, who resides on the south side. You can go buy a hot dog, a ticket, and watch a boring game for $4, and you can have a good time watching them lose. Cleveland is 10 back. In the division, Detroit is way back as well. Kansas City is 15 back. Salvador Perez has 38 homers, Jason. That's crazy. A catcher has 38 bombs. He just broke a record for catchers. I believe he passed, I don't know, maybe Johnny Bench. He passed him as hitting the most home runs in a single season or something like that, I heard today, which is crazy. The man, Johnny Bench. So there you go. The Central, David. Take it away and talk about your boys.
Well, my question is, DJ, how much hot dog for at a Cubs playoff game?
Probably about $15.
There is no playoff game. That's the answer to that question. The White Sox are going to be in it, man. You might as well just plan on it. It's going to be great. Yeah, I mean, they got an awesome bullpen. I mean, I know they've kind of been up and down. La Russa, that's still odd. Just seems to, I don't know, man. Just seems to be a weird fit with that team. There's been several flaps throughout the year. There was a recent one. I'm trying to think of even what it was. A comment or something La Russa had made, but the White Sox are going to be there when it's over.
Did you watch the Field of Dreams game?
Oh yeah.
You probably already talked about that on a former episode.
We did, but it was awesome, wasn't it?
It was. I was again being cynical. I was like, this is the sappiest, dumbest thing ever. And then I started watching it and got sucked into the whole thing and watched the whole game. It's pretty cool.
I did Kevin Costner thing in the beginning that everybody talked about how much they loved it. I thought it was pretty sappy, but it was awesome. And the way that it ended, even though the Yankees lost that game, it was pretty sweet.
So
Next
the
year
AL,
the Reds destroy the Cubs, which will be awesome.
yeah, whatever, Jason. That's not going to happen, buddy, because we'll have Trevor Story next year, so the Cubs will beat the Reds in that game. To the AL West, the Houston Astros 77-53 in first place by 5.5 over the A's, who are 2.5 back in the wild card. Seattle's still only 4.5 back in the wild card, David. They're hanging in there at 70-61, doing a good job, man. You got to hand it to the Mariners. They shouldn't really be where they're at. They're having a good season. I got to hand it to them, no doubt. But yeah, the Astros have they took over first place about a month ago, and they're not going to look back. So, thoughts on the West, David?
Yeah, I totally agree. Unfortunately, but they're good. Probably be the AL team in the World Series, very likely. I think Oakland's going to sneak into that last spot, as I said. And, Seattle has put up a good fight. It's amazing, though, what that Graveman trade did to them. We talked about that. Just a kick in the gut, man. That's where Jerry DiPoto went a little bit too far, but it's going to be interesting to see that last wild card spot play out.
No doubt. So, Jason, I'm going to turn to you a little bit here. So we're going to talk for a minute about the 1990 Cincinnati Reds. And I really wanted to hear your perspective on this, man, because, we're all the same age here, and we were kids when this was going on. And I'll tell you what, man, I'll give you my little story to start with here. Eric Davis, I loved Eric Davis, Barry Larkin. Paul O'Neill was a feisty little booger, man. Chris Sabo was a one-year wonder and just dominated that season. I just loved that team, man. The Nasty Boys at the end. going against the A's, who were like the steroid, just comic book character, Hall of Fame players, all these guys against the Reds. And the Reds were, obviously not the favorite in that series, and dominated and won that series. I believe it was a sweep 4-0, just took them out quick, man. And that series, man, the 88 to like 91 World Series, 86 to like 91 World Series, like that was awesome for me as a kid. I loved watching every one of those. I'm kind of wondering your perspective on what that meant to you as a kid. You were obviously young, but you were just starting your fandom with the Reds there. So talk about the 90 Reds.
Yeah, so I was a little younger than you guys, I think. You're cheating at me, DJ. But yeah, I was a third grader at the time, and I remember that was actually the first pro baseball game I ever went to. I can't even remember who they were playing. It was a regular season game. Someone at my dad's job gave us tickets that were right on the dugout. And I remember Chris Sabo coming up with a bucket of balls after BP and like dumping them on top of the dugout, and all the kids are like scrambling like rats. And then I had another funny story there too, where you mentioned the Nasty Boys. My dad was all pumped about this. He bought like the official Rawlings like pro baseball, not like the crappy practice balls you get at Dick's Sporting Goods, and took it to the game with us so I could get it signed. And I get it signed by every last one of the Nasty Boys. And me being a third grader, not knowing what's up, I started tossing it around to these scrubs like Herm Winningham and these randos, and they ruined my ball. I still have it somewhere. So frustrating. So yeah,
Herm Winningham. Wow.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Ruined my freaking baseball. But yeah, that was the first program I went to. I'll never forget it. It was a blast. A lot of the season though was lost. I mean, again, I'm a third grader, so I think a lot of the analysis was lost on me. You said something though that I remembered is I do remember that the A's were slated to, or they were the favorite to win that series, but I could never in hindsight figure out why. I mean, Reds went, they had this insanely dominant pitching staff. They went wire to wire. Do you guys, this is sincere, like I can't remember. Do you guys remember why they weren't favored over the A's? I know they had some sluggers, obviously, but
yeah, that was basically it. And the A's were good for a while right there too. That's the other thing. So everybody was, just kind of waiting for them to peak. But yeah, McGuire, Canseco, Terry Steinbach, they had Dave Stewart, they had Eckersley in the pen. They were a great team, obviously steroid aided, and that's what was so cool about the 90 Reds is they had just a lot of just guys, but very tough and a great team.
I think David nailed it on the head. They had made it to the 88 World Series and lost to the Dodgers. They made the 89 World Series, beat the Giants. So they were the defending champs going against the Reds who hadn't made the World Series in a long time. So that factored into 3 straight World Series for the A's. Just the experience of being there, that's a big time advantage, man. And so that's a big reason why they were favored. I mean, they had Ricky Henderson too. We didn't even mention was a Hall of Famer, obviously. I mean, that team was just loaded. Loaded. Our former pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt, was on that team, and these guys were just absolutely unbelievable. So, yeah. But, Jason, another thing, too, I want to kind of ask you. So, who was, like, your favorite players on that 1990 team?
That was huge. I love the infielders. Barry Larkin, obviously, and you're being in Cincinnati, you got, like, the big, larger-than-life kind of you know how, like, certain guys take over in a market as, like, the all-star of the team, so to speak, even if they're having a down year. But I think you already hit them, not to copy you, but Eric Davis, Barry Larkin, Chris Sabo, Rob Dibble was my favorite pitcher. I remember being a kid thinking like, oh my gosh, this guy throws 100 miles an hour. Yeah, those are kind of my favorites on the team.
And Rob Dibble and Lou Piniella getting in a fight in the locker room was one of the funniest things you'll ever see too, man. It's just like these guys there's a lot of egos on that team, man. When you got Rob Dibble, Lou Piniella, like those are some hotheads right there, man. And that's why they collided a lot and got in a bunch of fights. You had Marge Schott as the owner. Wow. It was a lot of fun though, man. That team was just absolutely loaded. I mean, guys that don't get much credit, Todd Benzinger, Mariano Duncan, Billy Hatcher. guys like that. Billy Hatcher, if I'm not mistaken, was the MVP of that World Series. I don't know if that's 100% true, but he killed it. What was that?
Scrub, right? The Jason's got all their autographs. Billy Hatcher and those guys that ruined his nasty boys ball.
Like 15 dudes that were called up from Double-A that never made it. I've got all their signatures.
Yep. So that was a great team to watch, man. A lot of fun in our youth there, and it's been since 1990, Jason, since they've won that World Series. So I am, on a serious note, I am glad that you did get to see that as a kid, even though you were really young, and you've been waiting a long time for it, man. And that's why I'm kind of pulling for the Reds. I got a lot of friends who are Reds fans, so is David, and so we're pulling for you guys, man, for real. Like, it's been a very long time for the Reds. So hopefully soon they can pull it off here and become legit again.
Yeah, if they could somehow make it to yes, I would actually. Well, I'm torn. Part of me would want to go see them and go back to Cincinnati to go watch a game, and the other part knows that would just seal their fate. So I might stay home and watch on TV if they make it. You should empathize, DJ. Curses are real.
Oh man, it took my whole life to get over it, buddy. 2016 will live on forever, though. So, Jason, we're at this part right here. Your top 5 baseball movies of all time. I've been waiting for this. Go for it, Jason.
Damn Yankees. That's for Dave Swor. I'd have to say, so I thought about this earlier, and I'm like, it gets squirrely down towards the end. I think Bull Durham's my favorite. And then it's so sappy, I'm almost embarrassed to say it. Field of Dreams would be number 2. I don't know why. I love that kid as a kid. The Natural never really resonated with me. I always thought it was weird and twisted and convoluted. Didn't like it. Still, I saw it the other day. My oldest was with me. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like it. So that's 1 and 2. Major Leagues would be 3. I don't know. I'd say, yeah, because it's a classic. I'm sticking with that one. Sandlot 4, if that counts, and then Moneyball 5.
Oh yeah.
I thought about saying Mr. 3000 and being like dead set about it just to mess with you guys, but I didn't. I'm too tired. Didn't have the energy.
That's an awesome list, man. Mr. 3000 is a hilarious movie, actually, pretty funny. But yeah, that's a good list, man. That you'd mentioned there. I don't know if mine's very much different from yours, but go ahead, David. David, got you, buddy? Can you hear me, Jason?
I hear you fine.
Okay. Well, he's down a little trouble there, so I'll go ahead and give my list while he's hopefully reconnecting here. Yeah, so I'll go number 1, Major League. That by far is my favorite, no doubt about it. I love that movie. Charlie Sheen in that movie. There's just a cast of characters in that movie. It's always been number 1 for me. Number 2 is The Sandlot. I laugh hysterically every time I see that movie. I just think that we all have a little piece of us in that movie. We really do. And that's what makes it so special. And they tried to do like The Sandlot 2, 3, 4. Terrible. I wish they would have never done that. It's awful. But the first one is classic. And that's like, it's really close to Major League.
It's all Sandlot, just to clarify. It's the 2, 3, and 4. I never saw those.
Don't.
Oh, you don't. It's not even worth it.
Yeah.
No. Good to know. Noted.
Yeah. So I go Field of Dreams 3. And that game that like we just had a couple weeks ago, man, that just added to the value of that game, I believe. Going to the Field of Dreams in person made it more special as well. Number 4 is Bull Durham. That movie is absolutely awesome. 8 Men Out is my 5th one, and I think our 5th ones are all going to be a little different here because it tells the story of the White Sox throwing the World Series, and that always resonates really well with me. So that hits my heart, makes me happy. So I was just debating which number 5 was. It's got to be Amen. David, your top 5, buddy.
So I'm with you. Major League number 1, Sandlot number 2. Number 3, I'm probably going to have to go with. I'm sitting here trying to think of the name of it. I was hoping one of you guys would say it. The guy that pitched for the Rays. It's a Disney movie. I just cannot think of the name of it. I don't have anything in front of me.
The Rookie.
The Rookie. I love that movie, The Rookie, man. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it, it's cool. It makes me think that even at 40, I might still have it left in the tank and be able to make the major leagues. And then I love, this is an old movie, The Pride of the Yankees. Have you guys seen that movie? It's about Lou Gehrig. It's an old black and white movie. It's awesome. And number 5, and just barely, I had to really think about this because I never have been a big Field of Dreams fan, but I'm going to go with Field of Dreams, but it just barely edges out Angels in the Outfield.
Better than Angels in the Outfield. Respect to it, but it's not the same.
It's only because when that dude makes that catch out in center field, it just reminds me of DJ's buddy Jim Edmonds. That's the only reason.
Reminds me of DJ. I have vivid memories of DJ completely laying out like a crazy person when he probably should have been protecting the ball to keep it from going behind him. But he'd come up with a catch. I remember your Superman catches.
Then he wouldn't wash his uniform for the rest of the month.
Yeah, that's a true story, man. I'd be like, hey, is anybody washing their jerseys today? Or be like, no. And I'd be like, well, I'm not either then, I guess. So mine would stay dirty the entire week. And Coach got on me a few times about that, man. I deserved it, though. But I was a pig fan, man. There's no doubt about it. And you didn't want to touch my uniform after a game, that's for sure.
You were hiding. Everyone thought you were just superstitious, so it gave you this air of legitimacy when you really just had bad hygiene.
He was just a little stitious. Just wasn't superstitious.
All right, Jason. So here we go, buddy. Let's talk about your high school baseball years for a minute here, man. Go for it. And then tell me exactly when you're transitioning to Temple, how that all happened as well.
You guys are going to love the story. You're going to just die the whole thing. And then you're going to say to yourself, see, I knew you were fake. You were a fake baseball player. You just made it all up. So I actually never played baseball as a kid. It was like this religious thing because they played on Sundays in Cincinnati where I grew up. My parents wouldn't let me play. So I never played baseball as a kid. I played pickup ball in the neighborhood. So it's not like I'd never thrown or caught or anything. And then fast forward to high school, I only played basketball and track. That was it. Those are the only sports. And so basically my sophomore year of high school, my small private school was like, you know what, we're going to start a baseball team. And then, it was a bunch of dudes. Some of us had played baseball before, like Jim Rulapal. He played a long time, good baseball player. And then a lot of us hadn't. And we're all thinking like, well, we're good athletes. We're fast. We're fleet of foot. How hard can this be? So we go try to play baseball. And it was just the first year of my high school career. I think I set the record for the most errors by a high school infielder in the state of Ohio. And to top it all off, I think my final average was .089.
Yes.
And so as someone that was like a huge baseball fan growing up, even though I never played, this absolutely vexed me. Like I was completely vexed. So then, cue the cheesy montage music, like practiced all the time, worked at it, always in the batting cages. And then by the next season, I think my average had gone up to like 283, but I was still like obviously struggling I was too stupid to know this at the time. Like it doesn't matter how good of an athlete you are. Like there's all this, and I see this with my 9-year-old, there's all this muscle memory stuff. And if you don't pick it up when you're younger, like any athleticism that you have only gets you so far. Anyway, and it kept going. And by the time I was a senior, it had kind of clicked. So I had a really respectable high school average. I think I finally got it to like 400 something. The errors went way down, feeling a lot more comfortable. But still, even getting into Temple, like I'm pretty convinced to this day. I think coach just let me on the team because he's like, he's fast. I think he might be able to steal a base if we had to put him in. But there's just a lot of missing, capability, if you will, if that makes any sense. Like having that background of playing baseball since you're a small kid. So that was kind of my high school story. One highlight that you'll find amusing, I was at shortstop. We were playing this high school called Turpin High School in Cincinnati. They had the coach had given them the signal to do a double steal, and Jim Rolopal, sound first baseman, rarely made an error, forgot how many outs there were. And so the batter I was already kind of cheating in on second base, had roped the ball to me. The runners had already gone. So I caught the ball, stepped on second, and the guy that was stealing second was so far off the bag, I chased him down and had my unassisted triple play. That was my greatest moment. It was all thanks to Jim Rolopal.
That's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
Absolutely awesome. So how did you get to Temple, man? How did that all happen?
So funny story, DJ. I actually got accepted into Northwestern, not to play baseball, obviously, but got accepted, and my parents were basically like, "No, we'll pay for college at one of these 4 schools." And so I had a lot of friends, Jim Rolopal obviously being one of them, that were going to Temple, and I went on a visit, and it seemed to be the most fun of the other 4 places that I visited, and that's kind of how I ended up there. So
fantastic, man. So what about did you end up playing all 4 years there baseball?
No, I played 2 years and then transferred to UTC. So, and then transferred back, as I was telling Dave before the show. It was going to end up somehow taking longer. The math wasn't working out. So went back to Temple and finished up there.
Gotcha, man. So Jason, you and Matt Locklear were my roommates for a year there in college, man, and we had a lot of fun, no doubt. There was some epic air bands going on late at night. I was a one-handed drummer. You were the lead vocalist, and Matt was lead electric guitar, man, and we could jam it out pretty well there in the middle of our dorm room there. So it was a lot of fun, man. I don't know if we could still do that to this day, but it was. If there was cameras around, we would probably sell a lot of records.
No, we were not having. I thought you were about to ask me to like break something out. I was like, that's not happening. That's not going to happen.
So, Jason, you got any funny stories from our baseball days or anything like that, or something funny you came across or saw or anything like that throughout the years?
Yeah, there's too many for the amount of time we probably have left. And you guys could stop me if someone's already shared them. But 2 that I was thinking of the other day were cracking me up. One was, I don't know if you remember, DJ, because how were you 2 or 3 years older than me? What grade were you in when I was a freshman? What grade? What level?
I believe you were like 2 years behind me.
Okay. So I remember my freshman year, and by the way, just in advance, DJ was the only upperclassman that even got the humor in this at all. Everyone else was like debating, like, are we going to murder them or are we going to punish them? So I remember that we went to University of North Georgia to play, and it was the freshman's job to bring the equipment. And me and Jim Rolopal forgot the helmets and the catcher's gear.
For this.
And then I remember Jason Morgan is probably why these guys, I don't know that they liked me much after this, made some comment like, you guys are all worked up. I just make gravel patties and wear them as helmets. And I remember the look on his face was pretty priceless. So I remember that game, all you guys wearing the blue North Georgia helmets. It was good times.
Yeah, that was definitely bad. I remember that very well. I actually tell that story to my players. Man, we went to North Georgia one time and somebody forgot the helmet. So you knuckleheads, make sure you get the gear. Do-do-da-da-da. It always comes up, man, all the time. And there was a lot of times too, Jason, where just your sarcasm, sense of humor was. I loved it. I just lived by it, and we had so much fun with it. some of those Southern boys didn't really understand that type of humor, man. And it was pretty funny to see that you go through that on some times where it looked like some of them wanted to kill you, and I was like, nah.
That was good times. Another one that I thought of that was cracking me up. So funny, but you mentioned Ryan Coffey, Dave, before the show. He was a catcher, right? I'm not getting my guys confused, right?
Yep. Right.
So I think he was a year younger than me. I remember we were in a fall baseball game, so this is where they got the guys like me to like, okay, let's give them at least one rep before the season starts. So I was at second base. Caleb Markham was at shortstop, or it might have been vice versa. I don't know where we were at. And Adam Mishaw was pitching. And I don't know if Coffey was nervous or what happened. I thought he was nervous, but he pops up during the warm-up to fire down to second. And I remember I had asked Caleb, like, let me take this one. And he throws as hard as he can, and he hits Mishaw right in the small of the upper back. And it made this thud that, like, echoed. You heard it echo in the field. And I don't know why, but, like, that might be the hardest I've ever laughed in a baseball game, to the point where I think we were 2 outs into that inning where I still couldn't get my bearing. I was like shaking. Like it was all I could do to not be at my knees. It was a pretty funny moment.
Oh, that is awesome.
Good times. And then I remember, Swor, you had all these, I think this is your brainchild, where we had these scrimmage games during practice where you put DJ at first base and Jim Rollapall at shortstop. Like, remember that? Everything was mismatched.
It's possible.
I digress.
Throw the ball over to the 5'7" first baseman over there. That'll work well.
6'6" shortstop.
Wow. How do we not have Jim Rollapall on this podcast? That's another guy that needs to be on here.
Yeah, Jim's the pitching coach at Bob Jones University in South Carolina. He's up to big time now, so he's coaching at the college level, and hopefully soon we'll have him on as well. Talk some Reds with him as well, and some TTU baseball and all that good stuff, man. And but yeah, Jason, man, it was a joy to have you on the show tonight, man. Hopefully the Reds will make you happy at the end of this season here coming up, and can get you a playoff win or two, and you can boast in that. Or if not, maybe the Braves can do something for you, something to keep you going and happy this October, man. But no, it's great catching up with you. Like I said, we were roommates together, man. I haven't seen you in 20 years, which is crazy to think, man. It's just unbelievable how fast time goes. But thanks for joining the show tonight, Jason. We had a good time, man.
Likewise, guys. Good to see both of you.
Good to see you, man.
And David, as always, buddy, it's been a pleasure, David. And all of you out there, please like our Frenemies page on YouTube and subscribe to it. And we will see everybody next week. Have a good week.
See ya.